What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, Duel commentary, playing Bujins once again. I'm playing against Crasher93. I think his rating is like 1,300, and oddly enough, I actually looked up my rating before this duel, and I'm actually 6 on DN, which is kind of shocking because I haven't really been trying to rank up this format, you know what I mean? Like last format, guys, you could clearly see I was like really pressing. I really wanted it bad, but now it's like, I don't really care that much. All right, so anyways, he asked me what I got for duality, and I got Mikazuki because once you get Yamato established and then you summon Mikazuki, you just start getting free carnations. This is one of those hands with Bujins where I may lose, I don't know, 5% of the time when I open with this hand. And it's because I've got Yamato turn 1, I've got Hair in the graveyard, so it's protected from battle. I've got a second layer of protection from battle and Crane. I've got Valor for Exiton Knight if he tries to do that. I've got Royal Decree against, set 5 back row. And then I've got Book of Moon against any other miscellaneous random shit that somebody tries to do. You know what I mean? This opening hand is pretty much good against every deck. Like, even if it was the mirror match, of course, I would just Book of Moon your Yamato, and then I would attack it, knowing that I've got Royal Decree. But I digress. Anyway, so he sets 1 monster, then sets 3 back row, which means I'm obviously going to decree him during the end phase. And then when I activate my Tinky, he chains MST. Now, he's actually targeting the Royal Decree, but I guess it was just natural reaction. Like, it was just an impulse reaction to destroy the card that, I activated when he chained, because I just assumed that that was the card he was using it on. Now, at this point, I assume that I'm either playing Geargia or Mermail, because those are the only decks that, for the most part, will, often T-set. I'm like, I guess I could be playing, what do you call it? I guess I could be playing Infernities, but I assumed it was one of those 2 decks. So on the Tenki, I'm going to get Bujin, Mikazuki. And if it is Geargia Armor, I can actually get over it now because I have the extra 100 from Tenki. And if it's Linde, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can get Pike, but that shit's going to get run over. So you have to have a couple of other cards before I really start caring about Linde. Like, right now, I don't really care about Linde that much. So it is Geargia Armor. And I felt good because not only could I clear his board, but I knew he was going to get Accelerator. I push him off. Basically, when I say that is, what I mean when I say that is, I make sure that he has no field presence. You know what I mean? The only way he can counteract my field, basically, is to Exceed. And considering I have Valor and Book of Moon, I've got good options. I've got 2 good anti-Exceed options. So during my end phase, I try and activate my effects. He doesn't have Fiendish Chain. So I'm going to dump a turtle in the graveyard, and I'm going to get a free carnation. Now, I fully expected him to activate Geargia Gear, and he activated Call of the Haunted, which essentially is the same thing in this sense. He gets a Geargia monster on board. He would get a free Surge, and he didn't commit his normal summon. So it is essentially the same thing as if he would have used Geargia Gear, because he gets to Gear Giant X without using his normal summon, which is the way that the deck usually wins. Now you see that he tries to activate Geargia Armor's effect to go face down and then reflip. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to effect Valor that. And I was a little hesitant because he hadn't committed his normal summon. Now when he summoned Mortal Kombat 2, I was like, okay, that's fine. And then he summoned Geargia Arsenal off the special summon of Mortal Kombat 2, and he activated Arsenal's effect, and then he got Geargiano from his deck. Or excuse me, from his graveyard. No, from his deck. I was right the first time. Now, he's committed a bunch of monsters on board, and I'm thinking, okay, after he summons the Geargia Accelerate, I'm thinking, okay, it doesn't make sense for him to Exiton Knight me, investing all those monsters on board. None of them are going to do anything. So I was like, he has to be going for Gear Giant X, in which I would just Book of Moon it. You see, I've already got my Book of Moon ready. And even if Gear Giant X did live, like let's say he had Forbidden Lance or something, I'm not sure how much it would do against me right now. I mean, I've got Hair plus Crane, so it's like, you're not going to get through my monsters. And then when you look at, the rank 3 that he would summon, I mean, he could go into Ghost Trick Alicord, but he won't have any phase. I won't have any phase downs because I would have already burnt my Book of Moon. And then it's like, what else as far as the rank 3 pool really does anything? I mean, he can go into Giga Brilliant, that would have 2100. He could kind of threaten my guys, but I would just Crane it. So you see, he summons Gear Giant X. I Book of Moon it because I don't want him getting free cards. Now he does have those two level 3 Geargias on board, which means, like, let's say he summons Giga Brilliant, right? And I end up having to waste a Hair. If I kill his Gear Giant X, he will be able to special summon one of those guys back. But he goes into Zemains, which I thought was kind of a weird choice because now he kind of locked himself out of, you know, being able to special summon anything back. So before I even duality, I'm going to make sure I kill that Gear Giant X. And, you know, he doesn't have any Geargia in his graveyard that are level 3 or lower. So I'm like, okay, well, that was a huge win for me. I'm content on activating my duality and then just passing turn. And I know that during my end phase, not only am I going to get Quailin into the graveyard, but I'm actually going to get another free Carnation too. So that's 2 free Monster Reborns. I was set to take a Royal Decree, and then I saw Soul Charge, and I looked at my graveyard, and I was like, well, I got 3 cards in my graveyard already. It's about to be 4. You know, usually when I Soul Charge, guys, I go for like 4 or 3 because, you know, this deck has a card that has built-in Foolish Burial and Yamato, so it's like, go big or go home. The Zen Mains on board, I don't care about. You know, now that I have my 2 Bujin Carnations, during my turn, I'll just go into King Tiger. I'll negate its effect. If he warnings me, then I'll just play Soul Charge, and I would go into, what's it called, Black Ship of Corn, plus make us a Sunwell. So, I mean, he just scooped it up knowing that I had, like, way too much advantage. He already knew that I had 2 Carnations plus Soul Charge, so he probably didn't see a way that he could come back in that duel. So, and actually, if the new card would have been out, the new guy that's pretty much honest, but looks like Quailin, had that been out, I probably would have dumped that in the graveyard instead of Quailin, just because I didn't see at any point of the duel him putting anything face up that actually would threaten me. All right, so we're going to the sideboard. You see, against Geargia, I always side in my Black Horns. I think that I'm going to side out the Royal Decrees. Royal Decrees really good. Sometimes going second, it's not so good. I side in my Fiendish Chains. I accidentally sided out a Turtle, and it dawned on me. I was like, where's my other turtle? I was looking for it, you know what I mean, the whole time, and I was like, I never, ever side out the core Bujin monsters. The only Bujin I ever side out, like, in any game might be Quailin, and usually one Quailin at that. Alright, so you can see I open with Mikazuki, Soul Charge, Fire Fist Bear, Crane, and Hare. This is a really, really awful opening hand. He already opens with Geargia Armor, which, when I have Valor, I never Valor Arsenal, always Valor the Geargia Armor. Because if your opponent just, you know, warnings your monster, then you just, like, did nothing. You don't even have a shitty-ass attack monster in attack mode. Alright, so he goes for Geargia Arsenal, then gets Geargiano, and then he gets Geargia Accelerator, or he special summons Accelerator, and he goes into Gear Giant X. And at first I was like, wait, why did he even go into Geargiano? Like, that doesn't really make sense. And you see that I'm typing, I'm like, what's the point of that? And it dawned on me, it's because if I Dark Hole his Gear Giant X, then he'll get Geargiano on board, you know what I mean? Or if I have some way of killing, you know, Gear Giant X, then he still gets to keep a monster. So, he ends up playing Upstart Goblin. I end up getting 1,000 life points. So, at this point, I'm looking at my hand and I'm like, wow, I wish I had, like, card destruction. That would be so nice. I could get all these shitty monsters in the graveyard and then play Soul Charge and get them all back. Alright, so I summon Mikazuki. I was really just set to push and hit him with Crane, get a Carnation, and just, I knew my Mikazuki was going to die, but, you know what I mean? I didn't want it to die to Bottomless. Like, I would have much rather he warned it than using Bottomless Shrapnel. So, I set Warning, and then I set Soul Charge, and then I just pass turn. Alright, so he summons, or he activates Gear Giant X's effect. He gets a second card, Geargia Accelerator to his hand, so now he has 2, right? Yeah, he summons Geargia Armor, and I thought about using Warning on it, and then I was like, alright, well, if I Warning it, and then he summons both Accelerators, then he'll make another Gear Giant X, he'll get a 3rd Accelerator, and then, like, what is my position? At least he stopped and he just attacked with those 2 guys. Now, he does load up his back row, like, super, you know what I mean? He has 3 cards in his back row. I finally draw Yamato, but it's like, against all of these back row, Yamato's no good. I have no field presence. I haven't established my graveyard. I haven't done anything that would actually help me. You know what I mean? I have the Solemn Warning. I can't attack over his face down monster. I figured I would just not attack and not use the Crane. I'd rather just try and use it defensively at this point. And he flips over Geargia Armor. I'm in a Solemn Warning. I was hoping he wouldn't summon. I was hoping he would just attack with Gear Giant X, and he would attack into the Crane. He ends up using MST, which sucks because, you know, there goes my Soul Charge, which it wasn't really that live anyway. And now I figure he's going to summon everything that he has in his hand. You see that he summons Geargia Arsenal, He gets Accelerator. I thought he was just going to go for a Gear Giant X and get another Accelerator, because that just makes the most sense. Like, unless I have Honest, I can't really stop it. You know what I mean? Or I'd have to have double Crane. But even if I had double Crane, he'd still get two. Well, no, he only has one Geargia. He only has Geargiano in his graveyard. He doesn't have Mortal Kombat 2. Like, okay, the point is, he would still be in a pretty decent position. And you guys can see my hand is nothing to brag about. So he gets Gear Giant X, and he's either going to search Accelerator or Arsenal. He gets Accelerator, and he goes to attack. And, I mean, craning is the only thing that I can do to stay alive in the game. He flips over Debunk, and I'm like, all right, I scoop. There's nothing that I can do here. All right, so based on what I saw, I'm taking my bear out. I'm bringing the Decrees back in, and I'm definitely taking these Fairy Winds out. And the reason I took Fairy Wind out and I put my Decrees back in is because I didn't see any zombie worlds. I didn't see any DNA surgeries, or, I mean, I'm sure he sided some of those cards in, but he didn't hit anything that would make me think, oh my god, I really have to have that in. You know what I mean? I figured if I just hold my MSTs, I'll be good. I put the bear back in because I do like bear in this matchup, going first or second. And then I put book in. I took my Forbidden Lances out because going first, Lance is not really good against this deck. Like, it stops Dark Hole, and that's pretty much it. Now, you see I started off with a pretty good opening hand. I've got double Fiendish Chain, Decree. I've got Tinky for Yamato, and then I got Black Horn of Heaven. So it's a really good hand. Now, I duality for 2 Effect Veilers and Honest. I don't want Effect Veiler because I've already got 2 chains. Haha, 2 chains. It's almost as good as 2 cranes. Anyways, alright, so I'm going to take Honest, and just because Honest can attack. Really, that's the only thing that I'm concerned about is, you know, at least Honest can attack and bounce to the hand. Now, I love hands like this when I have Royal Decree along with traps, because it's so difficult for my opponent to, like, play it right. You know what I mean? Like, if they try and overextend, like they try and summon Exceed on me, I can just Black Horn them. If they use you know, a monster that has an effect, I can Fiendish Chain it, but then I can just turn around during the end phase and I can roll Decree and I can just, you know, go as aggressive as I want. But I usually, whenever I have Decree plus traps, I always try and use my traps first. You know what I mean? So you see, here I'm just passing turn, and I was a little scared that I was going to get hit with Fiendish Chain, and I'm like, I'm not going to Decree that shit. I needed to use Black Horn if nothing else, because Black Horn is such a momentum killer for Geargia. Because you see, during my end phase, he has the Geargia gear. I already know that he's going to go into Gear Giant X because that's what the deck does, and it makes the most sense for him. He can put pressure on me while still keeping advantage, you know, because he's going to search for another card. So he's going to end up going +1 anyways if he gets it on board. Now, if that face down is Geargia Armor, he's still in a good position. So you see that he summoned 2 copies of Mortal Kombat 2, which I just realized. I'm like, why didn't he summon Geargiano? So you see I'm just looking at my back row. I'm just like, all right, just, you know. And I'm already getting my Black Horn locked and loaded. I'm just like, all right, go ahead. Summon that Gear Giant X. Summon it, summon it, summon it, summon it, summon it. Like Kaiba on Yu-Gi-Oh! Their bridge series when Mai took Merrick's what's it called? Ultra Mega Chicken. So anyways, he tries to summon Gear Giant X and I Black Horn it, so I'm like, all right, that's a huge win for me. He plays Geargiano, he activates its effect, and he gets Geargia Accelerator back, and I'm just like, okay, maybe he's going to go for his second Gear Giant X. I'm thinking at that point, from that Gear Giant X, I was going to Fiendish Chain it and then roll to Cream, but I actually got lucky. This worked out so well for me. He goes into Exiton Knight, and I'm like, that's fine, because even if you blow up the field, you're going to lose everything on board anyway. So he tries to activate the effect. I use Fiendish Chain. He plays Mystical Space Typhoon, and I play Fiendish Chain again. So at this point, I'm just like, this is great. You know what I mean? This is really good, because not only did you invest everything you had into that Exiton Knight, during the end phase, I can roll to crit you, because I know those are traps now. And I know that probably everybody in the chat was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Now, it does suck donkey balls that I drew another trap after that. Like, Mikazuki would have been so good. Now, I end up having to burn my Book of Moon to make sure that that guy goes face down, because I didn't want to use my hair this early. I mean, I guess I could have. You know what I mean? If he would have nuked the field or whatever. But I'm content on, you know, just using the hair right there. And I knew that I looked at my graveyard and I was trying to think of outs for him. And I was just like, all right, well, what could he top that could actually do anything to me? He can't attack over my Yamato because I've got Honest, and then I've got, you know, Hare and Turtle in the graveyard. And you see, I'm looking at my deck and I'm like, hold on, where's the other turtle at? I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking at my graph, I'm like, where the hell is the other turtle? And it dawned on me, I was like, I sided it out, but I never side out turtle. That's dumb. So anyways, he passed his turn. I drew a Pot of Duality. I was set to summon the Honest, and then I was like, well, what if I get Mikazuki? That gets me a free Carnation, so I'll just wait. I take the Carnation because I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it at some point in this duel. I mean, he's not just going to let me sit here and beat him down with Yamato. He's going to summon something. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to attack with Honest and Yamato. I was hoping he didn't have Book of Moon, because if he did, I would assume he'd use it on Honest. But if he wasn't able to kill it, he'd be, you know, extra fucked or whatever. So I don't even activate Yamato's effect anymore because there is nothing good to get in my deck. Now I end up top decking the Mikazuki, which is good because it gets me a second Carnation. And I mean, I think he's at like 1100 life points. I would have made Cowboy if it was game. I would have activated Hare first, then I would have made Cowboy, just so that my Carnation is still live. Now you see that I don't have anything good to dump because I did side out Quinlan, but I'm just going to go ahead and dump a Yamato. I don't care because it gets me a free Carnation anyways. He has 4 back row, and I'm just like, dude, what are those back row? Are you like going to play any monsters this game or what? Because I'm just going to beat you down with these 2, you know, Bujin beat sticks. He activates Dark Hole, which I'm like, okay, that's lovely. I'm going to get rid of Yamato. I'm going to keep my Mikazuki protected. It's still 2,000 attack, so it's still pretty real. And you see he just scoops it up, and I'm just like, well, what on earth did he have? Now, I set the Black Horn of Heaven just in case he had MST for my Royal Decree. And you see he shows me Geargia Gear, Solemn Warning, Evac, and Phoenix Chain. So this is one of the reasons why I continue to play Royal Decree in this deck because, you know, against back row heavy decks like this, you can literally just flip over the card and it's like GG. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always.